Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 22 video where today I'm going to be answering the question that some of you may be asking as to why are you losing in FIFA 22? Why do you keep losing in FIFA 22? Now you may have heard many reasons as to why this may be. So today I'm going to be sharing with you maybe a couple of things and give you some fixes and see if that can help you at winning more games. Now, obviously, we all want to win as many games as we can in FUT Champions, not only for rewards, but also the more games that we are winning, the more we will enjoy the game. Now, one of the first things to say is if you are someone who is losing a lot and you're taking it really seriously, don't, because losing doesn't really matter. Now, we've had one FUT Champs weekend under our belt, and we can clearly see, if you're somebody who has played FUT Champions, you can see that even if you finish in the worst possible reward, which, for example, if you lose all 20 games, you get amazing rewards. You still get brilliant rewards for losing every single game. So what you should be thinking when you're playing FIFA is that even if I lose, for example, in FUT Champions, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Of course, we all want to try and get to rank 1. I was lucky enough that I did get rank 1, finished 16-3 this weekend. I had a good weekend. But of course, we all want to finish here every single week. But losing doesn't really matter because of the way rewards in general are structured this year, especially in something like Champs. It doesn't really matter. Even if you suck and you have a terrible week and you only get 5 wins, you're still going to get some decent rewards. So taking it less seriously because losing doesn't matter will actually lead to you playing better. I find this week there was a couple of games where I started to get a little bit wound up, especially when I was playing Champs. Of course, we will take it seriously. You want to win. You want to try and get as many wins as we can. You start getting a bit stressed if you're not winning a game or whatever it may be. Things aren't quite going your way. You get stressed. I often find when I get stressed, I play worse. And then take a little break, you relax, and you come back and you start spanking everyone. So when you relax and when you're not so tense about playing because you're so stressed about having to win, you actually find that you play a lot better when you play a lot more relaxed, when you play a lot more happy. One of the things that I like to do, just simply when I'm playing, I listen to music when I play FIFA. I find it really helps because you're not necessarily so zoned in on the game. You're still playing the game, but I find that when I'm just listening to a bit of music or something, I'm more casual, I'm more chilled. You know, you're in a more chilled and relaxed environment, listening to music. And I just find that I play so much better. Might not work for everybody. Maybe somebody takes this away and tries it and it works for them. But little things like that can just help me to relax, and they help me to focus a little bit less on the game and take it so seriously. And I find that when I relax, I do play a lot better. Now, another thing that you will probably hear quite a lot of is that your team, you know, if it's pay to win, you'll win more games. Now, does that necessarily matter? Now, early on in FIFA, I would say having a pay to win team, quote unquote, probably will benefit you a little bit. However, having a really good team does not matter if you are bad at FIFA. I played in FUT Champs this week, some very good teams, guys who had Mbappe, Neymar, Ronaldo, Fernandes, had some really great players, Rafael Varane's, a couple of icons. I played a Cannavaro, played a guy who had Del Piero and Raul and Di Natale as his front three. But some of these guys were just terrible FIFA players. So even though they had like very good teams, if you're very bad at FIFA, having a really good team doesn't matter. Like, this is the team that I managed to get 16-3 with, and it's a good team. You definitely say there's some meta players in there. You say like Joe Gomez and Van Dijk, and there's some great players. But there's not the absolutely sensational Ronaldo's, Fernandez's, Messi's, Neymar's, and Mbappe's, you know, the absolute top tier players. Pretty much you could argue that every player in this team, bar maybe one or two, could be upgraded to a better player. There is a better player that I could get. And yet I still managed to get 16-3. And that's because if you're a good player, you don't necessarily need the absolute top tier players. Now, the 3 games I lost, thoroughly deserved to lose those games. The guys who beat me were better players. But just having a better team doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win more games. Now, if you have a really poor team and everybody you come up against, whether they're better than you, equal skill level or worse, if you just have a worse team than everybody, then yes, that's definitely going to be having a factor. But if you're going into most games and your team is at least equal, then you can't lose a game and say, oh, my team wasn't good enough, because if your opponent had a team that was equal, then it was obviously possible for you to win the game. So necessarily having a pay to win team won't make all the difference, but it definitely can have some difference. And pay to win teams only really make a massive difference in the very tight, narrow games. For example, if you have a good team that's worth 500k, let's say, and your opponent has a team that's worth 1,000,000 coins, but if you're evenly skilled players, yes, he might get a little bit of an advantage there. But that's really the only difference that having a better team will make. Now, a quick one to touch on is just the way you set up your team, tactics, things like that. Yes, this can play a difference and a role as well. As you can see, I have 4 different game plans plus my balance, 5 different game plans that are all set up for different scenarios. This is something that definitely can help if you are someone who is struggling, you keep losing all the time. Maybe you just stick to one formation and you never change. You need to make sure that you have, let's say, for example, I go 2-0 up. Whenever I go 2-0 up, I'm playing my 4-2-2 at the moment. Whenever I go 2-0 up, I just switch into this 4-2-3-1 because it's a little bit more compact, a little bit more solid, a little bit harder to break down. It's going to allow me to be a bit more solid. My opponent's going to have less chances, less possession, things like that. It's going to be a bit harder to break me down, and then that's going to allow me potentially to hang on to the victory. So making sure you do have tactics set for all scenarios definitely is going to help, whether that be hold on to victories, stay in control of games, or come back in games. So these will definitely play a role. And another thing that maybe you should do if you are someone who struggles, if you are someone who rages a lot, and this is something that I think a lot of people do, but maybe not so much this year. I've personally not heard about it so much this year, but a lot of people that obviously rage, thing to do is absolutely take a break. I've done this many, many times. If you are someone who rages, whichever extreme your rage can be, whichever sort of extremities your rage, how much you rage, whether that be you break a controller or whatever it may be, your screen, or maybe you just shout and scream. If you lose a game, especially if you lose a game that you feel like you get cheesed on, and this is important, if you lose a game fair and square, no problem going straight back in and playing another game. Because if you just get beat, you're not going to be angry. Funnily enough, I'm not anyway. When I get beat by someone who's just better than me, you're not angry because you know you should lose the game. However, if you lose a game where you feel like you've been screwed, maybe you've got like 6 or 7 expected goals and you haven't scored, your opponent's maybe had 1.5 and they win the game. Maybe you've had loads of shots. Maybe you've made some really good tackles and a bit unlucky, you didn't get the ball back, your opponent scored, or they get a lucky deflection, or whatever it may be that causes you to lose the game. If you feel like you've been screwed a little bit and you're raging and whatnot, absolutely 100% you need to take a break. I've done it before. Rage, you go straight into another game, lose, go straight into another game, lose, go straight into another game, lose, and it just carries on and on and on because you think, I'll just win one more game and then I'll take a break, and you never ever get that victory, and before you know it, you've lost 3 or 4 in a row, and potentially your champs weekend or your qualification run or whatever it may be is now over. Now, especially if you're someone who's obviously trying to qualify for the weekend league in general, you obviously need to go 5 and 4. If you start, maybe you get screwed, maybe your first game you get screwed, now you're raging, now you just go straight into the second game, you lose again, you go into the next game, you lose again, or before you know it, you're 0 and 3. Chance of qualifying is very, very slim. So if you lose a game, we feel like you cheesed, absolutely take a break, do something else, walk away from your screen, go outside for a walk, whatever it may be. Calm, again, comes back to that, calm down and come back, and you'll come back with a fresh mind, you'll be more relaxed, and then you'll start playing better. Because when you're tense, you always play worse. So definitely you need to do that. So they are some of the best tips that I would advise on anyone who is losing more games. Now, if it's something a little bit more technical and maybe you're not very good at defending, maybe you're not very good at attacking, whatever it may be, that will require a little bit more effort because now you're going to have to go and maybe look for some attacking videos or some defending videos and actually go and work on certain parts of your game, because some parts of it may be just fundamentally you're maybe not good enough in areas of your game, which is why you keep losing. So if you do keep losing a lot, making sure that you can potentially, if you can, record your games, watch them back. You'll see some maybe common mistakes. I see this a lot when I record my own gameplay back. I maybe see a pattern. I see a couple of mistakes that I keep making over and over again. And now when you go into your next couple of games, you go, okay, in these couple of games, I'm going to work on this because I've seen that this is a reason I keep conceding. Maybe I keep dragging my centre back out. So now I'm going to make a conscious effort to not do that because I've seen that I keep making that mistake. And now you'll stop making that mistake. And that's one area of your game now you're better in. So now that could, in a game, could make the difference, one extra win difference. Now you might see something else and you work on that. So if you can record your games and watch them back, or get a friend to watch your games, or play a friend regularly, that can really, really help combat some of the losses you might be having, because now you're actually trying to identify weaknesses in your game and improve. So they are some of the best tips that I can give for anyone who is losing and keeps losing over and over again. If you take any of these tips and you can apply potential fixes that we've suggested here today, that would be absolutely amazing. It would be really great if some of you guys could come and say, yes, these tips really helped and made me a much better player. So they are some of the best tips that I can offer to anyone who keeps losing. But if you did enjoy the video and you want to see more, do drop a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. And let us know down in the comments if there's any other videos you'd like us to make, and we'll do our best to make them. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.